Well, hello everybody, and welcome back. It's a rainy and gloomy Saturday here, and I've got a new model kit I want to share with you. So, something pretty, a little bit different, and hopefully you enjoy it. So, I'm going to switch cameras uh, to the top-down camera here, and we'll take a look at it. Okay, so we can see here, this is a model kit of the Tupolev 220 as we call it and as it's shown on the box. Now the Tu-20 was the designation for this airplane while it was in development. By the time it got to the flight line with the Soviet Air Force, it was redesignated Tu-95. So that is what this is a model kit of. This is from Plasticart, VEB Plasticart out of Eastern Germany. You can see here's the stamp, made in GDR, still sealed. This kit was tooled up in the 60s, and this one's from the mid-70s, I believe. So we'll take you around the box here. You can see Tu-20. We continued to call it Tu-20 through most of the Cold War. And it really wasn't until after the wall came down that we revised our designation. But nevertheless, that's how this is marked. You can see other kits offered. The Ilyushin 18, the Tupolev 134, Antonov 24, and the Tupolev 144 supersonic transport. Into the box you have Tu-20 and a blue depiction. And we have more offerings here. Caravel. I think Eric's done a video on a Caravel or the Comet 4. If I could find that, I'll link it in the description. MiG-21. And then there you have your 70s Plasticart Amperman, I think. Something, that symbol's called something, I forget. Airplane model kit. This might have been imported. I'm not quite sure how prevalent Eastern Bloc kits were in the U.S. This is 1 to 100 scale. Pretty common scale for the 60s and 70s. A lot of these Eastern Bloc kits are in that scale. Tamiya did a whole range in that scale. But I'm not quite sure how prevalent. Maybe on the coasts it was more common to see foreign kits. But at the time, this probably would have been pretty expensive and probably not worth it, and you'll see why in a moment. So we'll go ahead and open this up, and we'll take a look at what you could expect from the Eastern Bloc back in the 70s. Alright, so just a few things. We got the plastic off. First, this art is very nice. It's very Soviet, obviously. It's like something you'd see on a propaganda poster or something. I believe this is the Tu-95K, which was a missile, had the ability to carry missiles and launch missiles. The radome and this refueling probe is setting me off on that. Alright, so without further ado, let's see if I can do it with one hand here. Yep, get it open. And here we go. No bags. First note, let's just we'll remove the paper first, and we'll take a look at that after a while. And we'll look at the parts here. Okay, so a couple different colors here. We have black for the propellers. That one's broken off. Here is the remaining bit of it. It appears to have melted to paper or something. We've got model cement, and it is still a little bit, I guess this is cement. It's still a little bit flexible. Here's our clear parts here. If we're rolling around in there for 40, 50 years, they're not too bad. Those can be cleaned up. We have a stand. Pretty common for Eastern Bloc kits to come with a stand, apparently. And then we get into some of the bigger parts here. So, little to no surface detail. Your flaps and your ailerons are marked out. Pretty big injection points and a little bit of flash. And then the starboard side. Separate ailerons. There's the article there. A few more pieces to this kit than I was expecting. Here's your fuselage half. You can see the very misshapen nose there. That is not similar to any Bear bomber. This is a good size model though. I mean, it's probably about 14 inches long and would make a pretty neat desktop display model, which is probably what it was intended for. Here's the other side. Again, this has more surface detail. It's raised. And we have more tubes of whatever this is. I guess it's cement. Here's a larger one. It could be paint. Here's your engine nacelles. No detail in those whatsoever. You've got your spinners, more bits, more nacelles. You can see where they attach. Your wing uppers. And then we're getting into some silver parts here. Guns, landing gear, and turrets. Those look nice. Those landing gear legs, those aren't too bad. Those kind of still stand up. A little brake line detail on those, if you can see it. Maybe zoom you in here. Yeah, that's not too bad. That's passable even today, I'd say. You could get away with that today. Here's a tire. Tires in black as well, like the contra rotating propellers there. Then we have various bits that have come off the sprue here. So another nacelle that's reacted with something. various silver bits, antennas, and whatnot. Your horizontal flight controls. And then, yep, here's your decals. Probably not savable. No, they aren't cracked, and they're not really discolored. I wonder what a guy would have to do to use those. I mean, if not, they're very easy to replace. They're just red stars in 86, so that's everything in the box. Looks like there was some sort of bridge here to keep the structure, and it had some better days apparently. So we'll get this out of the way, and then we'll take a look at the paper goods. Okay, so here's our paper products. First off, we have this small sheet here in English, which is basically your obligatory warnings. And, you know, read this before assembly, whatnot, your basic, if you're building a model kit for the first time, instructions. Probably thrown in for the export market. And then we have this small sheet. This is your caution sheet. And we have to go most of the way down the page before we get to the English. Plastic adhesive, inflammable. You don't see that word too much. Inflammable means flammable. Dangerous materials of class 1, biological hazard group 2. Content of the tubes shown on its closure. 001 is adhesive, 002 is the color, which is silver. So I brought out the tubes here. Can barely see it up there. That's 001. This is cement. It is still pliable. And then these two smaller guys, 002. 002, these are silver paint. That's pretty interesting. I might, you know, just for a little bit of a gimme video, see if these are still any good. It'd be pretty cool if they were. Okay, now let's get to the main book here. So, of course, it is in German here. I'm going to try my best. This basically is discussing, it's a long-range bomber. It's a transport aircraft. There's a transport variant. Talks about the prototype of the airplane. 144 airliner. The year it went in service, 55, 56, etc. Talks about the 23mm guns and defensive armament. And then your takeoff weight here, 164,000 kilograms. Your max takeoff, 171,000 kilograms. And your range is 4,700. It's a takeoff roll. 4,700 meters, apparently. Most likely. And then some other, your turboprop, your NK-12s, and whatnot. All in metric and in German, of course. And then we get to the main part here. So you have a diagram with parts numbered, which most likely means that they're not numbered on the trees. I wasn't paying attention to that. And then you have basically, typically this would be an exploded diagram. I guess this is an unexploded diagram. And then your assembly instructions here in German, and here we go in English. "17 written steps. You go in Cyrillic and French as well. So very, very basic, very you must read and pay attention to what you're doing here. So that's basically the kit. Pretty interesting little product. These aren't very rare. This wasn't very expensive. I think I paid $15 for it. And this kit and a lot of the other Plasticart kits are still being produced today by a company called VEB. Those are more expensive. Obviously, they're newer and you have to import them. But these original ones they're pretty cheap. You know, still the Eastern Bloc kits are pretty cheap. And yeah, there's it seemed at the time the Soviets and the Russians held on to like the traditional model making out of wood a lot longer than we did here in the West. Max's Models has a video about that. I'll put it in the bottom in the description there if you're more interested about model kits in the USSR. And when it did come time to switch to plastics, they were often pretty basic. But then again, you know, interestingly, when the wall comes down in the 90s and, you know, the East opens up to the West, you just have this surge of excellent model makers, model kits, and aftermarket companies from what are now the Czech Republic, Ukraine, Poland, you know, in Russia too. You have Edward in Czech Republic. They started in the early 90s. And now they make excellent kits. And, of course, their photo etch is what they're known for. And they're all in the aftermarket sector now. They're probably the biggest. Mini Art, ICM, of course, in Ukraine. Although Mini Art, I think, moved. You have, let's see, you have Zvezda in Russia. They make some excellent model kits. So, yeah, and, you know, of course, people from YouTubers, you know, you got Night Shift, the tank modeler, Plasmos from Eastern Europe over there. A lot of excellent model builders from that side of the world. And maybe it has something to do with, you know, long cold winters, stuck indoors or whatever, and you got time to hone this craft. So maybe that's it. Let me know your thoughts. I'm gonna build this, obviously. Like I said, they're not very rare. It'd be cool to have. This is when this kit was tooled, it was the only kit of the 95, and that makes it pretty unique. Although they're not the same scale, this would look good with one of those, the Atlantis repop of the Revell B-52 from the 50s. They would look good together, I think, even though they're not the same scale and they would be off. I think they would still look pretty nice. So those are $20 too. You know, you can pick both of these up for less than $50. Of course, you gotta add in shipping there. So yeah, if you want a couple Cold War icons, strategic bombers, they're both still in service. And yeah, I want to thank you for watching, and depending on how ambitious I want to get, I might just tinker on this a little bit. I'm working on the Dale car and the Abrams tank, and I might start another kit, the Sukhoi 25 here soon. Just depends. The Abrams I want to have ready for the IPMS National Convention in August. So I kind of need to start getting on that. See, this is mid-April, so May, June, July, and August. I got 4 months. I think I can do it. I really need to get on the tracks. That's the big thing. That's the biggest part. The workable tracks. So, anyway, I'm rambling again. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this kit. Kits from the Eastern Bloc, the old Soviet Empire there. Have you built one? Are they worth anything? Some of them have unique subjects, bronze shuttles and whatnot. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Have a good weekend, a good Saturday, and see you soon.